Good evening and welcome to a special edition of To The Point. This evening we'll be delving into the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. The 7th conference will be launched tomorrow. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is attending that conference. Actually, he's in Tokyo or in Japan right now. The conference will be addressing a number of issues. Maybe worth noting that the title or the theme of the conference this year is Advancing African Development Through People, Technology and Innovation. This evening with a distinguished panel we'll be discussing the conference, how does it affect our continent and how does it affect Egypt. With us this evening is Dr. Sherif Sameh, who is a member of the American Institute of Certified Accountants. A pleasure to have you with us.
Nice to be with you.
And with us also this evening is Mr. Ahmed Khatab, who is an economic expert. A pleasure to have you with us.
My pleasure.
Gentlemen, this is the 7th conference. The conference is focusing very much on the people. Our continent is extremely rich in people, yet some tend to think that it is also burdened with the quality of the people, the lack of proper educational, proper vocational training, what have you. Conferences like this, and especially when we talk about partnership with developed countries like Japan, how would they reflect on us? How would this continent benefit from conferences like that?
Yes, let me explain to you first that this conference is very important for Japan and African countries as well. It's, you know, the JETRO, the Japanese International Cooperation Organization.
Yes.
One of the main goals for this to challenge and open more market for the Japanese companies.
Yes.
And simply, it's a business relationship between Japan and the African countries. So, as if it's a business, so it means that you take a business decision, and any business decision, it has like a triangle and has 3 heads. One of them is capital, and the others is market and experience. They need our markets, and we need their experience. It's simply and to the point.
Yes.
So what Japanese government did, they try to collect the African countries. I think this is TICADA is a conference. It's hosted by Japan in Tokyo, and this is the seventh time held in Japan.
Yes.
Last time I think it's held in Nairobi. It's the first time out of Japan, because this shows how the strong relationship between Japan and the African countries. So it's a business relationship. It's for a long relationship. It's not just one project or 2 projects. It's about the long relationship between the Japanese government and the African countries.
Mr. Khatab, how do you see the conference reflecting on us?
Yeah, first of all, let me present a special thanks by the name of all Egyptians to our Egyptian and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, because he will tomorrow, with the cooperation with the Prime Minister of Japan, inaugurating the 7th summit of TICAD in Yokohama. Let me present some data about TICAD organization. It started from Japanese cooperation government in 1993 in order to support African country. And our President Sisi tomorrow will launching and inaugurating the summit, representing first Egypt as a country, and we are lucky to represented by our President Sisi in this summit, and represent all Africa country because our President Sisi is the chairman of Africa Union. Tomorrow our President Sisi will starting a session with attendance of Prime Minister Shinzo of Japan, in order to discussing a lot of issues related to developing the human in Egypt and developing human in all Africa, especially. Also, this opening session will issue some very important issues related to general remark related to all African country and related to the cooperation between Japan as a country and Africa. And Egypt as the main gate for Africa will play a very important role in first opening session. Especially Tokyo International Conference on African Development will titled by Promoting African Development Integrated Through People. So all the session will aims to increase the knowledge of human in all Africa country through cooperation in the field of education, cooperation in the field of economic transmission, in the field of blue economy. A lot of session will discussing many different issues related to all Africa country, and Egypt especially have a good relation with all Africa country, and Egypt is a very qualified country in Africa, especially with underground and infrastructure, really infrastructure like Suez Canal corridor, Suez Canal logistics area, and a lot of advantage related to the location of Egypt will play a vital role in the field of economic in the future, especially.
One of the key topics in the agenda is economic transformation. What do we mean by economic transformation pertaining to this continent?
You know, as we are mentioning, that is win-win situation between Japan and the African countries. You know that what African countries need from the Japanese government or Japanese investment, not only just to inject money in their economy, they need also their technology, as we are mentioning before. Technology means that they will help African country to have more growth in the future. Technology means that you can upgrade your labor skills and to upgrade your increase your productivity, to increase productivity so you can compete in the international market and enhance your export to the international market. This is one of the main points that Africa needs from the Japanese. So infrastructure, they need more to spend more in the infrastructure. They need more to spend in the education and the health sector. You know that now the Africa economy is booming. So the per capita GDP for the African countries, according to the last ranking, maybe 2 months before, you find 5 or 6 countries on top of this rank, maybe Botswana and South Africa. They are more than Brazilian and Saudi Arabian people, you know. So this is show to you how important now the African people have the power of money. They can purchasing power. They can buy whatever they want. So the Japanese come to the Africa and they invest more because there is another point that the market, a domestic market in Japanese is aging and shrinking. And now what they do, they're looking for more markets and more opportunities outside Japanese market.
Yes.
You know, yes, and this is very important for Japan and Africa. This is like reforms for the economics for both sides.
So it's a win-win situation.
Yes, as I mentioned.
One of the other issues that will be under discussion is creating an enabling environment for proper transformation and the involvement of the private sector.
Yeah. Also starting session will concentrate in encouraging the private sector and how to merge the private sector with the public sector and improving the performance of the private sector and supporting by banking sector, supporting by economic committee, supporting by all information they need. Also we have a good chance in cooperation with Africa because a lot of African country starting from the fourth generation of connection and such transformation into the economy in this connection by the 4G will help supporting the transfer of money through a lot of online application, and such online application and online banking will support and help also the trade between African country and also Japan as a key country. A lot of advantage will be support the private sector in order to start a new project. A new project aims to create jobs. The new create jobs leads to reduce the percentage of unemployment rate. So a lot of ideas we'll discuss tomorrow aims to support the youth also by more training. A lot of also session discussing the future of cooperation in the field of education and higher education. For example, we have a Japanese university in Egypt aims for graduate qualified student, and a lot of cooperation also in the field of the Great Museum, and a lot of cooperation with Japanese organizations like JICA. So I think tomorrow summit will discussing a lot of many different issues related to investment in human capital also, and related to supporting the private sector in the Egyptian market and in African market and in the field of cooperation between African country and Japan country. And all international institutions send a clear message. The 50 coming year of investment will focus on Africa country. So because of this, all key countries like Japan aims to strong the tie and the relation between Egypt as the main gate for Africa country and all key countries in Africa like Nigeria, like Kenya, and a lot of many different countries. So TICAD summit will be add value to the Egyptian economy and will be add value to the investment and opening new market in all Africa country. And Egypt, under the leadership of Abdel Sisi, play a very vital and important role in order to strengthen the tie and the relation between all African country and Japan country.
One of the advantages of this region is we're very rich in natural resources. Yet we also have this fixation, because we went through a lot of colonization in this part of the world, that we're very concerned about the kind of help we get and how to protect our resources so that they're not misused.
Yes.
How can we do this balance?
There is a very critical question, because you know that Africa are looking for Japanese investors not only to extract the natural resources, but also to adding value to their raw material, whatever, to intermediate or to final products. You know, this will be enhance their opportunity in the international market to increase their exports. And increase exports means you having more growth rate in the future. And you should take in consideration that each government now, I think now most of African people are living under the democracy, whatever it's fragile or strong democracy, you know.
Yes.
So now they are looking for better life. So they're asking for more jobs. They asking for more education style, more healthcare services. And if we are finding now Japan and China and this is Eastern countries are facing problem during maybe 20 years. Because you know, according to the demographics of the Japan, the youth between 15 and 24 age is decreasing, you know, and it will be, the opposite will be in Africa now. The youth between 15 and 24
is on the rise.
Is the rise, and it will be decreased decade to decade until 2050 maybe. You know, that's why Japan now is looking to have more market in Africa, because it's the future will be for Africa. And if you are in the past, maybe the labor charge was cheap. And now it's not like that, because according to this, maybe 30% fall down for the people between 50 and 24 years. And that's why Japan is now open their factory in Africa, like China also, like India also. They are looking for cheaper labor and looking for better quality for their product. Now we find maybe it's made in the company, not the country.
Yes.
That's why to have the same standards, same quality, whatever the country is. So this is one of the main goal between the cooperation between African country and Japan. Also, there is African trade zone. It's already launched maybe 3 or 4 years. 4 years back, so just give the chance for Japan to have more market in Africa. Whatever is joined with Egypt or Tunisia or Morocco, it will find a market for their products. Another thing that as I mentioned for you, that all the African countries now are looking for technology. They are looking for Japanese, and they feed them with the technology. Technology, it means that they can especially help their SMEs. I think we talked before about the SMEs and their problems. The first problem from the SMEs, they don't have the technology, because it's maybe cost match. And Japanese people coming, I think there is big project between Japan and Uganda for the dry food, especially dry fruits. That's why they need the technology from Japan, and they cooperate with each other.
What about the vocational training? Because the issue is not for you to come and invest, and I get a share of the investment, but I need to train my people so that eventually they can do someone in Uganda or Egypt, whatever, can set up a factory with to dry fruits, for example, and he will have qualified labor to actually do.
Right, and I think that one of the requirements for Uganda government, they are signed for with JETRO, that they should have to upgrade the skills for the employee, and they should increase the productivity for them. That's one of the main requirements for the African government when they are negotiated for the Japanese investors. You know that Japan, I think, is launched a permanent board last maybe March 2019. It's between government and private sector to enhance investment in Africa. This is the main goal. And the second one is to meet the needs for the Japanese market and for the investors for the Japanese. And this is a very critical point between Japan and Africa. It's mutual benefits and win-win situation.
How can we ensure sustainability? Because this is one of the issues for this conference, is ensuring sustainability for human security. This was the title. How can you ensure sustainability when you have a lot of political issues in the continent, the biggest of which really is terrorism? Can we talk about sustainability in light of that?
Yeah, sustainability related to the base security and the cooperation in the field of security, and this is the main issue, and we're discussing in the second day in the meeting. And as Mr. Bassam Radi said, all the relation between Egypt, especially as a country, and other African country, and Japan will be sustainable in the future. So this is related to a very good relation and the tie in all fields. Good relation in diplomatic field, good relation in political field, good relation in economic field also. And a lot of kind of cooperation will aims to sustainable cooperation related to peace process in Egypt and in all Africa country, because the security and the peace process is very vital to the growing of the economy of all African country and Japan as a country. So a Prime Minister of Japan and our President Sisi will working together in order to strong the stability and the peace and security in all Africa country.
So we'll see more involvement by Japan in our politics, because so far Japan has been more of an economic partner. Rather than a political partner.
Economic and in the same time political. If we have a good economic relation and if you have increase in the volume of economic and the trade between the two countries, will reflect positively to the good tie and relation politically and also diplomatically. So all key country and all the country in the world aims to strengthen the tie and relation by strengthening the volume of trade or the size of trade and the process of cooperation, especially with the private sector and the governmental sector, especially in mega projects. And if we discuss it for Egypt, a lot of mega projects between Japan and Egypt take place in the field of education, in the field of infrastructure, in the field of transportation. So Egypt and the leadership of President Sisi focus in strong tie in the field of peace and security, not only in Egypt, on all Africa country. Because if there is a stability in all Africa country, it will reflect positively to the connection and facilitate the process of connecting through ready infrastructure between Egypt and all Africa country, and from African country to Japan country and to China and to USA. So we aim to connect with all over the world, but we start with Africa, because the future of investment will created in the coming 50 years in Africa, and all the world look for African country as a good chance for more investment. So a lot of direct investment located in African country, and Egypt will play a very critical role in facilitating the trade between African country and between Europe and between Japan also.
Can conference like this engage in a successful manner the private sector? Because it's not just about government-to-government business, but you want, for example, Egyptian businessmen to invest in Japan. You want Japanese businessmen to come and invest in Egypt, to feel that this region is safe and the investment is secure. Can this message be delivered in a conference like this?
Yes, sure. That, you know, I'd like to add a point also for how to guarantee this long relationship between the two countries. If you know that 90% of the Japanese companies are small and medium enterprises, that means they were also in the future will seek for more market and market, and that's why they are opening new opportunities for their investors. And at the end, you are seeking for profit. It's as we said, it's a mutual benefits.
Yes.
If there is profit, okay, each party have weakness and strength points. And this, the strength point for Africa, that's we still have our market, it's open up to 2050 according to their plan for the futures. And they expect Africa will go for 2 trillion economy. Today it's 2 trillion economy, it will be increased more to 30 trillion economy in the future. And this will guarantee the long-term relationship between Japanese investors and the Africa. And for the security, I think it's more important for the investors to deliver them to messages that Africa is secure, and the security will not only mean it's safe in your factory, or it's safe in your own house or something like that. It means that if there is something like corruption, you know that Africa facing corruption. It is one of our obstacles, and we are launching 3 months back the first anti-corruption conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, which was already headed by President Fattah Sisi as a president of the African Union, and this one is delivering messages that Africa is fighting fraud now, because of the cost of the fraud for Africa. It's more than 150 billion US dollar, and this is one of the points that should deliver to the Japanese investors, that you know that if there is poor countries, there is corruption. There is I think that there is special statistics that said that in each country which the per capita GDP for its population less than 5,000 US dollar per year, you find the corruption there. It's a red flag for the corruption, and this is happening here in Africa. So this is a mere critical point. How can you enhance investors to come and you have a corruption problem? This is very important point. I think they will discuss it.
What are we expecting in terms of laws? One of the issues that always face investors coming to our part of the world is the investment laws. Egypt had a facelift of this law, so to speak, but this is not the case in most African countries. Since we are the chairman of the African Union, what can we do in a conference like this to encourage our neighbors to upgrade?
Yeah, let me focus in this issue, investment law. We will start from Egypt as ideal for all African countries, and then we try to transfer this upgrading happened in Egypt starting from last 2 years after new investment law take place in Egypt by Minister of International Cooperation Dr. Saha Nasr and approved by People's Assembly. Such upgrading of investment law will matching with the international policy and process of the trade in all over the world. And Egypt through the COMESA Forum and Africa Forum send this clear message to all African countries participated in Sharm el-Sheikh in our forum. You should take Egypt as ideal country for promoting investment locally and overseas. And in order to starting up a new investment in your country, you should make upgrading to investment law in order to matching with the international standard. And a lot of key countries like South Africa and Nigeria take this right direction in upgrading all law and facilitate all governmental process in order to be an open market for foreign and direct investment. So Egypt, especially under the leadership of Ahmed Sisi and with support from the economic specialists and from the central bank, take a lot of critical issue, aims to increase the direct investment from all over the world to Egypt. And such a direct investment reflected positively to Egyptian economy. And Egypt, as after economic reform, will be as ideal country for all Africa, and this is published in a lot of international institution report like Fitch and Standard & Poor's and World Bank, and so a lot of international agency send to the world a clear message. Egypt takes the right direction after economic reform process. Egypt an open market. Egypt have a strong private sector supported by the Egyptian government, and aims for opening new multinational company with cooperation of multinational organizations all over the world, aims to creating jobs, aims to make Egypt as a key country, such an open investment and such direct investment to the Egyptian economy reflected to the increase in the percentage of growing rate until reach 5.6%, and we aims at the end of 2019 reach to 6%, and by the end of 2030 we will be 6.8% according to a lot of international agency report. So Egypt play a vital role. Egypt is a leader country in Africa. So because of this, all the world look to the Egypt as a country will lead Africa in the future, especially for sustainable development vision 2030. So in all summit attended by our President Sisi and attended by the Minister of International Cooperation, Minister of Planning, Minister of Trade, Minister of Finance, aims to open market and aims to send a clear message. Egypt economy is strong 100%. Egypt have a lot of many different chances in order to start new project with the cooperation with multinational organization on all fields, in field of liquid gas, in field of petroleum, in field of petrochemical industry, in field of car industry, in infrastructure, in real estate, in tourist sector. So Egypt as a hub market for more investment send a key message to all African countries and to the world as a key country like Japan, like Canada, like America, like British. We are the ready country for more direct investment. We are supporting the private sector to merge with the public sector. We have the smart government working for facilitate all process through the internet banking, through the internet application. So a lot of facilities will support the international community to come and invest in Egypt.
President Sisi wrapped up earlier in the day the G7 summit. What message will he be going to take out from the G7?
You know that Japan, one of the countries member on the G7, and let me explain to you some information about the relationship between Egypt and Japan, because now Egypt, the Egyptian export to Japan about 84 million US dollar, and Egypt is imported from Japan about 570 million US dollar. You know, this is the gap between
import and export is quite large.
And export, yes. And President Sisi is, when he is discussing with the G7 summit the Egyptian economic reforms and how far now we are reaching a very good situation and point to prepare ourselves for the new investment. He will continue the message to the leaders, especially now he is head of the African Union. Another thing I would like to mention that Japan here, I think the JICA, the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, is have a coordinator with the Egyptian government, maybe dated back to the last century. They coordinate in the establishment of the Opera House, on the Upper Reach Hospital, in the new museum, and the best thing in the Egyptian Japanese University of Science and Technology.
Yes.
To give us, and also for the Japanese schools now, to give us, as I mentioned, to change our mindset, not just technology, just to change our mindset and enhance people to have the entrepreneurship culture for the future. And I think if we have a good chance to cooperate with Japanese people, although we have more than 107 Japanese companies working in Egypt now, for total investment more than 400 billion US dollar. So Egypt now with Japan, it's okay, and we can build on this and continue in the future and enhance Japanese investors to come with their experience and with their high technology. You know, Japan now maybe closed all the factories with low technology. They transfer this to India and I think Taiwan or something like that. But now they are producing the high technology, and we need this for the future and to enhance our export in the future with the African Union.
How can we benefit, taking into account that this region is very much being meddled with? And history has not and will not change.
Yeah.
Because if this continent is developed, it would be really a force to be reckoned with. You're a continent that is rich in natural resources, rich in human resources, and if you are also technologically advanced, then you're quite a strong power.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Let me focus in the future of investment in all Africa country. Why all the world looks to Africa country in the coming 50 years? Why? If we don't, we're discussing the future of gold, you will go to the Africa. If you want to looking for the future of liquid gas, you will go to Africa. If you want to look forward for the future,
that's what I'm saying. You're very rich.
You're very rich in field of agriculture, breeding animals, fishing farm. So, Africa country is very rich, but we need first security and stability, and this is the main key issue of NCCC will send tomorrow in the summit. I need your cooperation in supporting peace process in all Africa country. So, and Egypt play a vital role in Sudan, play a vital role in, and also many different countries by a lot of support. And Egypt invited the international community and the world, like America and Japan, China, to working together in stability in Africa country. And all Africa countries like Germany, like British also agree with Sisi in fighting illegal migration, and the peace process and security in Africa is very effective, and this is well discussing in the second day of the summit. And Egypt will play a vital and very effective role in this issue. And after stability take place, Egypt will start to launching a lot of connection through the infrastructure with a key country in all fields, in maritime transportation, in roads, and by train, by railway, and by airplane. So a lot of connection and infrastructure will launching, and we're starting already to make a lot of export during the last year through Salalah until we reach to Mombasa, and a lot of African countries in order to support by a lot of affected machine like refrigerators, like televisions, like some technology also Egypt will support our African country. So a lot of cooperation will take place in the future, but this cooperation need stability in all the region, and this is well discussing tomorrow, and also the summit will help security and stability in all African country, and fighting of also of illegal migration.
We've talked about security and stability in this region numerously. Egypt has been, us being in the African Union and in the Arab League and in the Security Council, I mean, we've been addressing this issue for years. Peace and stability, peace and security, combating terrorism, consolidating efforts to move forward. How can a conference like this give a message to the world powers, to put it diplomatically, that there is no development, no reform worldwide unless issues are resolved in this part of the world? Can TICAD work on something like this?
Yes, let me also add something for the last question, because I heard some people say that Japan will take people out of poverty, Africa out of poverty, and put them on the road for the wealth or something like that. There's a mutual benefits between Japan and Africa. If they know their know-how, it's not easy to give you their know-how. You should spend more for the R&D, research and development, to improve your own products. And this should be your goal. You know Egypt have now vision for 2030. One of them to enhance people to have their own companies, and to create more opportunity and more ideas. You know, now the Ministry of Investment is establishing special companies, especially to enhance people to have more ideas and to create more new products, for example. You know? That's for the other side. For your question, I think it's a mutual benefits, as I told you before, that all parties understand the strengths and weakness point in their situation. It's a game. They playing. We have the know-how, and you have the market. Without the market, we can't depend on ourselves. That's why Japan opened new market and new opportunities in Africa and increase this is competition, you know, between China and Japan and US and Russia now. Russia now is spending.
You just name countries, but I'm saying, why would they allow? I mean, there is competition, but at the end of the day, they're all competing to be active in your part of the world.
Yes.
Is this to their benefit?
Yes, of course.
How? Because some people are concerned that we're opening ourselves, we're becoming more vulnerable in the future.
No, it's part of the, look, each government has as a main goal to increase the standard of living of her population or her people, of its people. That's why the Japanese governments are fighting more to open new market. Why they are competing with China and USA in the African market. Why? Because they know that now this area of the world, the future is there, and the African people now has doubled purchase power, as we mentioned before.
Yes.
So, and in the same way, we understand that those people not coming us and give us a charity, they are coordinate with us. We try to get the maximum benefit from them, and they try to get the maximum benefit for us, because they planning for the future for 50 or 100 years in the future. We need to understand our strengths and weakness point to plan, to have our plan for the future, for our generation, next generation. If we coordinate with each African Union and African countries, especially with the GCC and with the Middle East countries as well, we try to have our community and our own products and our own brand. This will be for our future.
The involvement of international organizations like the World Bank, for example, in conferences like this. World Bank gives you a clean bill of health, as has been the case in Egypt, for example. How can this benefit and advance foreign investment in this part of the world?
Yeah, World Bank is a key leader in this summit tomorrow, and all of us knows the very effective and the vital role of the World Bank in supporting the mega project to infrastructure, especially like a lot of projects like PNBAN project with cooperation with the World Bank, and a lot of projects related to the water and the reclamation of land will be with cooperation of the World Bank, and the World Bank will support a lot of African countries in the field of infrastructure, in the field of start-up new projects, in the field of upgrading the technology and the mechanism of the industries located in African countries like Egypt. So World Bank and the International Bank and a lot of international agencies will help to support the private sector in order to take a good advantage in the future. And if we can discuss new industries with cooperation with Japan, and World Bank will funding this new project, especially in the field of the information technology, in the field of car industry, and the field of mega project related to solar energy and electricity project. So World Bank will support a lot of African countries, in many different countries of development.
The banking sector, how does it fit into this? Because whenever we talk about setting up small and medium enterprises, the problem usually is the funding and the banking sector. What can we do to advance regulations in that sector so that you can get the Japanese know-how, but the local capital?
Yes, I think the Afrix Bank is playing this role. He coordinates between the banking system in all the African unions and the World Bank and the Japanese JETRO and the other organizations. They try to have to simplify the procedures and to have one procedures and one policies according to the money transfer and how to open the LC and LG whatever, for example. This is try to enhance and to guarantee that there is no different procedures between company and other company, especially now we are African trade. We have a trade zone now. You should simplify and should it's one procedures in each country, no difference between these procedures, because this is one of the main reasons why the investors will come. It's money easy to come and easy to go. If you have these procedures, everything, it's main problem for the investment to enhance them to come to your countries.
One of the concerns in the future is food.
Yeah.
food shortage. And can Japan, with the know-how, turn this part of the world into the world food basket, so to speak? Because we have the resources, but we need the technology, and in food especially, whether it's in cultivating lands in the agricultural sector or in setting up farms, so to speak, for animal farms, what have you. You need the technology.
Yeah, second day of the summit, we're discussing the future of agriculture, and Japan have very good knowledge in the field of modern agriculture process, and such a technology will be transferred to the African country, and all the Egyptian farmers will have advantage of this new technology in the field of agriculture and the plantation and reclamation of land. And Egypt is starting a new project in greenhouse, like located in Alamein and in Sinai, and a lot of new technology in the field of agriculture will be add value to the Egyptian farmer, and will support the Egyptian citizen to have a very good and healthy kind of food, especially fruit, fresh
produce, foods and vegetables.
Foods are, and a lot of advantage of export of this fresh foods to the Europe and to America, especially Trump in the G7 also make an agreement with Japan in the field of agriculture, and he sent a clear message to the world that the all American farmer will be benefits from this agreement. So Egypt also have accumulated experience in the field of agriculture, but the cooperation between Egypt as a country and the African country and Japan will be add value, especially in the field of export of Egyptian food and dry food to the world, and will go, and such export of foods to the world will reflect it positively to the Egyptian economy, and will increase the percentage of growing economy in the future.
Japanese also have a mega project with Rwanda to produce the safe seeds. You know, it's a very good project, and they started, I think, 1 year back, and they continue to produce the safe seeds in Africa and export it to
the world.
Yes, it's very.
What, in your opinion, would be to constitute the or label the conference as a success? It's a 3-day conference.
Yes.
What do you want to see in the final communique that would satisfy your economic expertise that this conference is not just ink on paper, it is a successful conference?
Yes, this is, after each conference you are expecting something happened on the earth, you know, and this is the critical situations for the businessmen, for the private sector, especially for each side. When you are I don't like that you are signing a protocol or something like that and the memo and that's it. It's not enough for us. You would like to see on the earth that there is new open factory, and I think Japan now are planning for the textile to come here and open. They ask to have the Egyptian government to assign for them a space free in the Suez Canal, allocate space in the Suez Canal free zone, especially for the textile, because as I mentioned, here we have the cheapest employee here in Egypt, northern Japan now, and they will start in the textile industry. And when we are seeing that, you see, okay, this conference is succeed and everything. You know, yeah.
So on deliverables?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Evidence.
Okay, gentlemen, unfortunately our time is up. Thank you very much for your fruitful input. I'd like to thank you, the viewers. Wish you a very pleasant evening, and we'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.